Take one, take one. Hey guys, some of you may remember I'm working on a Blaster, Yamaha Blaster 4-wheeler. That kind of got pushed aside, let's just say. But I'm back to trying to finish it up so I can get that out of my hair and people can ride it, have a little fun with it. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is bore the cylinder, and I will take you over to where I'm going to do that. All right, we got the big spaceship here. This is where I make my monies. But right now, we're just going to bore the cylinder. So I made this fixture here. One side here is for fitted for Blaster cylinders. And then it'll probably be somewhat universal later on, but this other side is set up to do the PE 175 cylinder that I'm going to do next. As you can see, I'm showing you this for a reason. It's indicated in. You can see it's right on. My indicator is not broke. I also indicated the face. It's square, so everything is kosher there. So let's throw the cylinder on here and see how far out it is. The cylinder, the ID on that fixture is fitted to this. There's about 3 thousandths clearance. So this cylinder's been bored before. So when I throw this on there, I have a feeling the cylinder isn't going to be all that concentric to this, because it was bored before. I don't know who did it. Maybe they did a good job, maybe they didn't, I don't know. But we're going to find out. And we're just going to correct it. If it's 15 thou off, that's what we're going to do. We're going to leave it in there, because to me, this right here is machined to the center line of the crankcase. And so that should be the datum point or the orientation, or whatever you want to say. The cylinder should be bored off that. That's what I'm going to go with. So here we go. So it's almost 8 thousandths total indicator reading. I don't know. Like I said, it's been bored before. Start tolerance stacking this stuff as far as maybe from the factory. They accept 2, 3, 4 thousandths, and then whoever bores it out, they're just going off the board. If it's out 2 or 3 thousandths when they start boring it, you know. And this isn't the quick way to do it, but I don't have a boring machine for small cylinders, and this is what I got. I'm not set up to do this. You know, I'm just doing this for myself. This would be a loser if you were going to try to make money boring cylinders doing it this way, because you have to make fixtures to fit the lathe. And, yeah. Anyways, but it's good enough for my stuff, and it's actually probably superior to the way engine machine shops do it. Because again, they're just going off the existing ID of the cylinder, and if it's off, they're just going to continue to make it off, or a little bit worse even. That's how I feel about it. That's what we're going to go with. This will be better than factory. So it's 8 thousandths. I don't remember how much we're boring this out. I think we're boring at 1/2 millimeter. I have to double check that. So 1/2 millimeter is 20 thou, so it'll clean up. That's not a problem. So let me get started on this. All right, here we go. This is not the final pass, but I thought I would show you briefly. The problem is it's kind of boring. A little machinist joke there for you. Alright. Made the final pass. We got to hone about 1.5 to 2 thousandths to get the total 2.5 thou clearance that we want. 2.5 to 3. You can see the crown of the piston, the high point's right about where the end is. So, anyway, so we're ready to hone it. I'm not exactly sure. I got to buy a straight hone for it, and I've never done that before. We're doing this on the fly, but it can't be that hard. So that's that'll be next. I got to order that right now. Actually, I should have ordered that earlier. But I'm going to go inside and order the hone. And hopefully in 3 or 4 days, today's Monday, hopefully by Friday this weekend, I'll be able to hone this out, slap the engine the rest of the way together, and fire it up. And then get this thing out of my garage. Alright, man, we're ready to hone this to size. We got to take 2 thousandths out of it to get it to the finished ID. We're looking at, they call for 2.5 thou clearance. I am probably going to go closer to 3, 2.5 to 3. This is a cast piston, so it doesn't expand as much as a forged piston. But hey, the piston manufacturer is calling for 2.5 thou, so I think it's better to go to err on the little bit on the larger side than too tight. I got this hone here attached to this very old drill. This is a antique. It was my grandfather's. My dad's 81 now, so it was his father's. It's a Stanley. I'm trying to remember. It says made in USA somewhere on here. Somewhere in Connecticut. Right there. What does that say, people? New Britain, Connecticut. Made in USA. This thing, I have reason to believe it's from the 1940s. Just because I don't remember why, but it could be earlier. It could be 50s. Could be 30s. I don't know. But it's powerful. It's almost ripped my arm off before. That's how powerful it is. I got this mounted in here in the same fixture that I boarded on. And if it grabs or whatever, I have this engaged in a higher gear, so it will spin if it needs to, if things get out of control. We're going to start out with a 220 grit, and then we're going to move on to a 320 grit as the final. All right, here we go. Here goes nothing. Hopefully. Now the key is, I don't want to slide it out, so I'll back off the tension. There we go. Now we are using transmission fluid as a lubricant. I poured it in there before I started the video. All right, let's see what like I said, I gotta take 2 thou out. So let's see what that did. Well, that took about 0.8 of a thousandth out. I gotta turn this a little bit. Let's see if there's any taper. No, we're good. So I think what I want to do is yeah, 0.8. 0.8! It didn't take much to get there. So I guess we'll do about the same amount. Actually, what I'm going to do, you know what I'm going to do? I'll take this off. Expand this. That. Put some more oil in there. Look, I know this isn't like, I think my boring job was just as good as anything you're going to get anywhere. Unfortunately, I don't know that the hone job is the same without real equipment. But we're going to find out if it's good enough. All right, one more time. All right. We gotta tighten it up a little bit. Add a little bit more juice. Back it off here. Check the ID again. So I only took another 2/10 out. You know, probably the first style goes easier because of the machining. You're just taking the roughness out first. And then once you get the roughness of the boring out, it goes slower, which would make sense. Now, let's see. Well, upon further review, unless there's taper, let me measure up here again. Looks like we put a little taper in it. So I'm gonna have to go back and concentrate on the on this end here. And try to not take anything off the bottom of the cylinder. Yeah, it's kind of was afraid of that as a possibility. Hit it! Okay. One nice thing is, this isn't, ideally you'd have the hone going in and out, and you'd pull it out without stopping because, you know, you're trying to create the crosshatch and you don't want to lose that when you stop. One nice thing is when I turn this off, I see, because of the gear that I have it in, it spins the lathe, so it kind of helps out with that, if that made any sense. That's another reason why I think I want to finish a couple of passes with the barrel or the barrel hone, because I can do that. You can just spin it, and then you can pull it out as you're spinning it. Can't do that with this. I don't know. It looks like a 30-degree crosshatch by my trained eye. Again, let's see what we got. We had a half a thou taper. Oh. Bear with Uncle Jesse as he takes his glasses off, because I gotta get some bifocals, people. It's just happening. Okay, so I'm measuring 2.676 and a half. We're shooting for 77 to 77 and a half. Let's double check what we had in here. Middle, it's about the same. Get past the intake port and then measure it down there. Still just a hair bigger on the bottom. It's better to be bottom. Well, it's okay to be a little bit bigger on the bottom than the top, in my opinion. It's not sealing down there anyways. Really, the critical part is from the top of the port, from the top of the exhaust port to the top of the cylinder. That's where you're doing all the compressing. Which brings me to an interesting side story. Do you guys remember back, you'd look at literature or specifications of these two-stroke motorcycles, and they'd have, the Japanese would always have, I don't know, like 8 to 1 or 8.2 to 1 compression ratio. And then I remember back in the 80s, looking at the specs on like a Kajiva 125 or a KTM, and they would have like 16 to 1 compression. And I never understood how that could be. The reason why that is the way the Euros were measuring it is actually how you would normally measure compression ratio. It's the total swept volume and then compressed into the combustion chamber, and that's the actual compression ratio, which would be the bigger number there, the 16 or 17 to 1 or whatever. Well, the Japanese were really measuring what we call now as dynamic compression ratio. So they were only measuring the volume from the top of the exhaust port to the top of to top dead center. And then that was the swept volume divided by the combustion chamber and that space. So what the Japanese manufacturers were doing was measuring dynamic compression ratio, which in the four-stroke world, that is just taking into account timing events of the camshaft, and that's basically what they're doing here. So if you ever wondered why sometimes they measure compression ratio on two strokes, it's a really big number, it's because of that. Now you know. I hope I explained that well. I probably didn't. But if you can read between the lines, you understand what I'm getting at. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit this again on the top to get a little bit less taper. And then I'm going to switch to the 320 stone. And we'll just skip to that. I'll let you know how this all worked out. Okay? All right. All right, so I just chamfered the ports, chamfered this part of the cylinder there, and put her back in the cleaning tank, get all the 220 grit out of there, get all the little shavings from chamfering over here off, get it nice and clean, and then we'll do the 320. I did get the taper out, by the way, so we're good to go. All right, here we go. We're going to do one more pass with the 320. I already did once. I already went over it once. And we're close. It's so close. Do just a little bit more with this. And I think we'll be good to go. A little more tranny fluid. Not tight enough. I think that'll do it. We're gonna find out. I don't know if you can see that. And it's somewhere between 30 and 45 degrees. Let's measure, shall we? .677. That's right at 2.5 thou clearance. I'm not sure if I wanted to go just a little bit more. Let me ponder. Oh, one last thing. If anyone out there is questioning the accuracy of my bore mic, it is calibrated. These things you have to calibrate all the time, I feel like anyways. But that's what these rings are for. So don't worry, it's a freshly calibrated bore mic using a ring gauge. All you keyboard warriors out there can just settle down. Okay? All right. Out. Well, I did hit it real quick with a Dingleberry, which is also a 320 grit. I haven't checked the ID. I don't think I took anything off, but I was able to, I think, since you could enter and exit with that spinning, I think that gives it one final little good crosshatch, and I think it's going to be really good. Really good, I think. Let me check the ID one more time. There it is. If it took anything, it was less than a tenth or two out, which is fine if it did. And it's ready to go. I gotta clean it, put it in the clean tank, and then I'll wash it with hot soapy water, and it'll be ready to install in the finished bottom end that I already did. This was a good, I think, first attempt at doing this. I'll get better and more efficient when I do that PE 175 cylinder, which is next. I've never done this, boring a cylinder on an engine and honing it. I have a machine shop, but it's not set up to do engine work like this. Everything is about setup, and when you go to an engine machine shop, they have all the quick ways of doing this stuff, and this isn't the speediest way to do it, but it just costs me some time, and I can do it. I don't have to wait for anyone to do it, and I know it's done right, I guess. Yeah, I think it's done right. It's done right by Uncle Jesse.